Sup, welcome to the Tedeschi Trucks podcast. This is episode number 20, and I am Adam Choit. To follow this show, it's at Tedeschi Trucks podcast on Instagram, and I'm at Adam Choit on Instagram as well, if you want to follow me. And of course, I have no affiliation with the band. This is not an official podcast or anything. It's an unofficial podcast. I'm just a fan, and if you're listening, I'm guessing you are a fan of TTB too. So be sure to subscribe as well and give me a positive review on iTunes if you can. Doing those things is definitely helpful, and I appreciate it. So today's guest is Tedeschi Trucks band fan, Angel Emerald. Born in New York City, music has always been a big part of her life, especially since her teen years when she started going to lots of live shows. It was Warren Haynes, though, and his music that sort of led Angel to Susan and Derek, and we covered all. Warren, Susan, Derek, the Allman Brothers, and TTB. Angel is also the creator of the Tedeschi Trucks Band fan group on Facebook and other music-centric groups, and she tells me all about life in the music social media world. Let's just get into it. Here's Angel Emerald. So it's good to see you today, Angel Emerald. Thank you for joining me on the Zoom here. I appreciate your time for sure.
Nice to be here, Adam. Thank you.
Oh, good. How are you holding up during this super fun 2020?
It's been an interesting time. It reminds me of when I was a teenager and there wasn't a lot to do. So I got involved in reading and, getting into music.
Yeah.
And listening at the time I'm 62. So at the time I used to listen to WNEW and also the major, radio stations that had the pop music, which was great back then. In 1968, I was 10. So I heard all the great music, the R&B and the pop music, and the hard rock was coming out too, into the early 70s. So, and we were a major region and a major area. So we heard all the hits. We heard a lot of, great music all the time. It was always the backdrop of my life because, I had a little bit of a difficult childhood in the sense that my mother and father never really understood me, and I was always more complicated than everybody else. And, so music was, I guess, a respite from the complexities of dealing with my family and dealing with people.
That makes sense. That makes sense. So you're from New York and born and raised? Is that?
I'm from Brooklyn. I'm from Brooklyn.
And you still live there?
I moved from Brooklyn's South Slope area to New Jersey. I live near Montclair University now, which is a suburb of the city of New York. So I still can go into the city, which I like. But it's, more suburban than Brooklyn was. I moved in 2015 from Brooklyn to New Jersey.
Okay. Well, we got a lot that sounds like a lot to unwrap and unpack. Tell me about the real early days when you're like in elementary school and like a young kid. Like, what were you listening to music wise? Was it you discovering this
when
music?
I was 10,
just playing with the radio kind of thing?
The radio was on. Yeah, it was free music. You'd have to hear commercials, but they weren't overwhelming. And music wasn't as repetitive now that the radio stations or whatever, the top 40. I mean, music was much more diverse when I was growing up. You'd listen to one radio station and you'd hear R&B and you'd hear hard rock and you'd hear soft rock and you'd hear punk and you'd hear, all of these different, I know they had different stations, but I would, jump around on different stations and it was free. My family were into music. My mother really loved Tom Jones and Doris Day and all of those older artists, so I have some exposure to them. And my grandfather and grandmother loved music, so I know like some of the big band stuff and Frank Sinatra and Perry Como, and all of these, musicians that, oh my God, people who were 30 years younger than me don't even know.
Yeah.
All right, Frank Sinatra, they know, but
right.
The whole range I know. I just don't remember their names. Yeah.
Yeah. Did anyone in your family sing or perform or play instruments or anything like that?
No, we were a working class family. My father was a cop. My mother was a homemaker. Eventually, she started working in Alexander's, and we just were working class, I wanted to be a singer at the time. I did, but I didn't really I was overweight, so I didn't really have the body for it. And I knew you would have to do a lot to, as a woman to actually make it in music. So I decided, I also cared about the world. So I decided to become a social worker. It was like kind of a better bet for me, a long-term
Rewarding, at least. That's
plan.
rewarding too.
Yeah, I worked for the city of New York for 29 years. It was an interesting 29 years of work, almost like a prison sentence, but not always. Not always.
Work is work.
I worked for the Human Rights Commission for 5 years, and then I worked for the Department of Housing, Preservation, and Development for about 4 years. And then I worked for the Department of Mental Health, Mental Retardation, and Alcoholism Services. But we eventually merged with the Department of Health. So for like the last 20 years, 18 years of my work life, I worked for the Department of Health in the Mental Hygiene Division. And music was always there with me. I started... All right, so when I was young, I listened to the radio, and then I started going to concerts when I hit my late teenage years. I used to like James Taylor, and I went to see him a couple of times at Carnegie Hall, and I saw David Bowie at Radio City Music Hall, and I saw Linda Ronstadt there. And this is before... kind of when I went to school, I couldn't really pay attention to what was going on in music. I knew there was like punk music going on. This is in the 80s. I graduated in 85. So, there was all this punk music going on, but I couldn't really hang out because I had to get my college degree and my master's degree. I couldn't really...
Was it magical to go to these concerts, though? Do you remember it being magical to go to a David Bowie concert? What year was that again? It was in the 80s?
Yeah,
what
Bowie,
era?
Yeah. It was not his, big one with Ziggy Stardust. It was like maybe the album or two after it.
Right.
So it was good. I remember, it was good, but I don't remember a lot about the concert. I do remember one concert, though. I went to see Elton John at Madison Square Garden, and it was the concert that John Lennon came out and sang Whatever Gets You Through the Night with him. So I was there at that concert. And, when I finally realized many years later, like how important that concert was, for John and Yoko's relationship, I just, it was good. And I remembered it. And because I didn't like that song. I didn't like Whatever Gets You Through the Night, but I did like, the other songs that he did.
So you've been to a lot of concerts in your life, a lot of concerts, it sounds like.
Well, so after I graduated college and social work school in 85, I started work, and I really didn't have money to go to concerts, and my friends weren't. I did go see a few concerts, not that I didn't see any at all.
Yeah, here
but
and there.
after 9/11, after the Trade Center fell and my mother had passed away the year before, I said, hey, Angela, you really got to start going to see music again. So a friend of mine gave me Warren Haynes' Christmas Jam with Susan Tedeschi and Derek Trucks, this 2 CD album that she had. And I listened to it and I was like, oh my God, really the person who I really became attracted to vocally was Warren Haynes. And, both of them, Derek and Warren, were in the Allman Brothers. So I started to go see the Allmans in 2002. I saw a couple of Government Mule concerts in 2001. At the time, I was playing with Phil and Friends, so I saw a few of those too. And years later, I went to a lot of concerts. I've seen the Allman Brothers probably 125, 130
Whoa.
times. Yeah. When you started 2002, that's a lot.
Right. The Beacon runs. It's the Beacon runs that make it add up. That had the stats.
I used to go to about half of the shows.
Count. Yeah.
And Lana, who used to help, Lana, who did all of the ticketing to help the fans get the tickets instead of all of the ticket brokers. She was very nice to me because I was always buying one ticket. I didn't buy like 2 or 3 for everyone else. people didn't follow through on paying for their tickets. So I just started buying my own ticket, and that was it, going to concerts by myself.
Yeah. What are the pros and cons of going to a concert by yourself? I've gone to some shows by myself, but it's all pros. There are really no cons, I guess.
What did you just say?
I say pros and cons of going to a show by yourself. It's still fun.
It's when it's the same group of people, when it's like a Warren show or a Government Mule show, or Derek and Susan, or the Allmans, or even the Phil and Friends shows, you start seeing the same people.
Same people, right? Yeah.
They become and you become friendly with them.
Exactly.
So
yeah.
I became friendly with them, but it turned out that most of the people who I know and like, and what I'm about is I really listen to the music when I'm at the show. I'm not so interested in chatting so
right.
Before the show I'll chat, during the middle, so it's the whole event for me, as a single person. It really was an important part of my life since 2001. And now this whole, what we're in now, this isolation is a little bit hard for me. I don't have any reason. I don't have work to go out to, so I have to make things to go out to, and do things, have to make myself do some projects and whatever.
Yeah, music
things.
helps too. Like you've been saying, I think music can take you to a different place, and to a different place in your mind, to a different place in terms of a different feeling. Music can take you places. I'm speaking generally, but I think that makes some sense.
Oh, it does. Yeah. Now I listen to it in a different way than I did when I was young. When I was young, it absolutely was, a healer. It is now, but I have access to, and I listen to so much music that it takes up a lot of my life too, the whole music thing, which I had always wanted to be involved in music. So that's why I started these groups. There were two reasons. One is because I always wanted to be involved in music in some way. And, I saw people were kind of mean to each other online. So I felt that if I was ever going to run anything, it was going to be where people weren't going to be, kind of snippy toward each other, that people would be, respectful. That was what I always wanted to see happen,
That's
on the
great
internet.
That should be part. If it's like a group, and they're moderators, there's people that can ensure that there's a level of decorum within you do your best. It's a hard gig, so to speak. So you created a group. Is it a Facebook group before the Tedeschi Trucks fans group?
Well, I originally was a Government Mule fan, and I had gotten thrown off of their list.
Oh man, drama.
Because I kept arguing with people, I only know this because I was there. And, I hurt some people's feelings, and people hurt my feelings. And, years later, we sort of made up with each other.
That's good.
That was always, that was good.
All this seems silly, I guess. Is it not?
I think
things get personal.
Everything becomes very pointed when you're on the internet, when you're writing something, and you don't hear a person's voice. You don't hear the inflection of their voice. So you don't know, you're just reading it actually in your own head, in your own voice. So if you're agitated, you're going to read whatever's being written as agitated. So that's why I'm not just running the group, the Tedeschi Trucks fans group, by myself. I'm a strong leader, but I have a lot of other people involved in sort of reading it and paying attention to what people are saying.
You created the group, though.
Yeah, I did.
Correct,
I created the group. Yeah, I did. Like I said, I started out with email. I got thrown off of it, and then I was on the. Then I was on the Hitting the Web site and the Phil and Friends site, and I even got thrown off of the Hitting the website because I got a little too involved in people politics.
Yeah.
And I just,
de-escalation
anyway,
and conflict resolution. That's what we need to practice, all of us, especially during these times.
Well,
especially when we
everybody's
disagree.
different everyone has a different level of handling, and dealing with conflict. So
right.
We're all different toleration levels.
Well, we can tolerate in how we handle it.
Yes, it is inevitable, and it is how we handle it. And I think, a tendency to argue online is very real. And so we sort of make sure people don't call each other the, asshole word. And even
keep it respectful. Disagree, but be respectful.
Yeah, I mean,
I miss arguing in person.
Time.
I miss arguing in person, yeah, and cursing in person too.
I curse all the time, but I try not. I always felt, and this is one thing that sort of I think saved me, is that I always knew that these were public boards. They were public forums. They're not private, even though you think it's only your friends who see what you're writing.
Right. It's very easy.
That you say, right. Anything you write, anything you say is going to be there. And, that's not the reason not to say something, but, try not to write something that you're going to regret.
Right, exactly. That makes sense.
I once had this young man. He was really getting into some argument with someone. The ticket, the whole thing about scalpers and how they inflate the price of tickets, and he really wanted to get everybody to do something. And I knew he meant well by how he was talking about,
presenting himself. Yeah.
But I had to sort of email with him behind the scenes to keep him from getting too, upset online, and it worked. I mean, there was one person who, I said, listen, the online is not everything.
Yeah, I don't want your jobs and the admin's job. Admin jobs, I suppose. What have you personally learned anything from your journey as running these online groups, like over the years, in terms of maybe things that where you would do things differently even?
Oh my God, of course, all the time. I'm always thinking about, I always regret when I have to, ban somebody. And I do occasionally, often I'll go back and I'll, just take the ban off of people, even if it's been a year or so. Sometimes it's really, they just need to step away. So I ban them, and then, I'll take the ban off of them, or I'll talk to them behind the scenes about.
Right. That's good. That's good to talk to them for sure.
Not every moderator is doesn't have as much time to put into talking with people about why something they said or wrote was not useful and not helpful.
Yeah.
Remember all the conflict around the stand and the sit debate?
That never ends.
All right. Well, that was the biggest thing. I mean, it actually grew to a bigger issue called, the what you do at concerts, your behavior at concerts. And, inevitably we would see a thread somebody started and talking about, how somebody was talking at the concert and how somebody was standing or sitting or, it's just like, the board isn't there for you to I guess, complain about what a bad time you had because other people were at the show. You should stay home and just watch concerts on video then, because part of a concert is being at the show with other people. And, some people can't stand up for very long periods of time, and they can't just stand there and dance. Now, I love to dance, and I am a dancer, and sometimes I stand up when everyone else is sitting just because I want to dance to a song. But it takes, it's an unusual time, once in a while I do that. But sometimes you just got to go with the flow. Not sometimes, all the time, most of the time you got to go with the flow of the group and the crowd. You're at a show with other people.
Yeah. Not everyone wants to stand for sweet and low.
Sweet and low.
Yeah, not everyone stands for sweet and low.
The TTB song. Yeah, the TTB song.
Yeah.
Some of that stuff I don't know that well.
That's okay.
Like I said, I'm a Warren head, but I love Susan and I love Derek. I've been posting some shows from way back when Derek was with the Derek Trucks band. and when Susan was doing her own band, so that people can hear that, and hear the musical genesis of what brought them to be, the TTB bands, which is even a total different entity from what the other two bands were,
Sure.
musically.
Yeah. I was going to say, tell me the chronology of you discovering Derek, Susan, and TTB. You kind of touched on it a little bit with the Warren Haynes Christmas show, which was, what year was that? That when you?
I think I saw. I think I heard a disc from.
The hearing the music.
1999, which turned out to be the year that Derek and Susan had met each other. It became one of the discs that were put out by Evil Teen, the Warren Haynes production company. They put out the CD from the 1999 Christmas Jam, and I had heard it. And Derek was on there, and Susan was on there, and I think I have the. No, I don't think Greg was there. So that was the first time really hearing the concert live for me, and it really impressed me. And then, like I said, I became attracted to Warren's voice, so I started seeing Government Mule shows. And I like harder rock than TTB even plays, so I did lean for most of my life listening to Government Mule, and they're very diverse in terms of their music as well. So really, they opened me up to a lot of different kind of music that I never listened to. So I went to a couple of Government Mule shows. I went to a Phil and Friends show. This is back in 2001 and early 2002. And the Allman Brothers in March 2002 were my first Allman Brothers shows. And from there, I mean, really everything came from the Allman Brothers, all of the guests that I saw and all of this live music, jam. And I don't want to say jam bands because there's some of the most sophisticated music that's out there.
Yeah.
Derek, Warren, Susan, the Allman Brothers, it's a real fusion of jazz and blues and rock and folk music. And it's just
more even. Yeah.
Yeah. It's the best stuff. And I never really listened to the Grateful Dead music. So that also, when Warren started doing the Dead in 2004, I believe he opened for them as a solo artist, and then he was in the band. And that really opened me up to listening to all the Grateful Dead music. Then I went to go listen to Phil when Warren was in it for a long time. So I was listening to Phil and Friends. It took me a long time to get them and their jamming stuff. But I liked that, and I learned, and I got into that, esoteric kind of jazz, fusion stuff. Then I saw Rat Dog, and I really fell in love with Bob. I was a little surprised that I really saw how when he was young, he must have been a very romantic kind of person and singer. And as he was older, he even became more kind of softer. And, so I really enjoyed Rat Dog. And they were one of the best audiences that I've ever been with. They're just so chill and so cool. And nobody bothered me if I wanted to get a little closer or pushed me around.
Yeah,
we had the Beacon shows before what's his name, Dolan took over. They were something else. I got up front a lot.
Yeah.
I did.
Things changed when Dolan took over. Things changed when Dolan took over MSG, Madison Square Garden.
Well, Madison Square Garden was always where you had to sit in your seat, pretty much, or you sat in your seat. But the Beacon was a free-for-all before Dolan. And, like I said, everyone just would crowd up front, and all of these people who had paid for their upfront tickets weren't really able to see anymore because of all these people who were in front of them. And I was one of them, as at 5'3", it was like, I'm not going to see unless I move up. And I did. Yeah, it was fun times. And, but it was when it was over, it was better in a way because people who did pay for their seats ended up seeing the band in the way that they should have. There's some justice
in that, some fairness in that for sure as well.
Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of things that are sort of not fair about the whole ticketing system. They're not starting at the front and ending up in the back, depending on who buys first. That's not how they do it. Now people are paying, $200 and $300 for a ticket if they want to sit up close, if not more. At the end, the Allman Brothers were charging, thousands of dollars for those upfront tickets. And those tickets that fell into ticket broker hands, they were going for $5,000, it really took a lot of the equity out of the music business. The more lucrative it became, the more, regular people didn't get a chance to see their artists very close, unless they paid the price, and it's okay to do that. But then, would you have to have money to see a band from, a good seat? It should be a little fairer than it is, I think, for fans.
Yeah. I'm sure there's a better way. I'm sure there's a better way that will satisfy everyone. We'll have to figure out a way to get there. So the Allman Brothers kind of is what opened you up eventually to TTB and back to Susan and Derek, or I'm guessing.
Well, the Allman Brothers, and Derek is a great guitarist, and he was playing with the Derek Trucks band, and I liked them, but I didn't understand their music as much as I understand it now. So, I like vocalists, and Mike is a great vocalist, but I always felt like the band overpowered him and his, vocal stylings. So it didn't work for me. Yeah, it didn't work for me, the Derek Trucks band. But because, my friends were going to see them, and I wanted to get out and do things, and I love Derek's playing. I mean, it's always been that way. So I would go see the Derek Trucks band too. I remember seeing him at the Red Lion in the Village. And there were maybe, 150 people in the audience. This is going back
awesome.
to 2000.
I want to go back in time and go to a show like this.
Going to 2002 it was, I think. Yeah, it was a February show too. That was part of the reason. No one goes out in February. Now we wish we could just go out.
Anytime. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and then when they had triple bills a lot. They had Allman Brothers and Government Mule and the Derek Trucks band, and then Susan actually came on board too at some point. She sang with the Derek Trucks band. She sang with the Allmans.
Yeah.
One gathering of the Vibe, she and her band, had a set as well, and it was a great day of music back in, what was it, 2003 or 4, 2003, the Gathering of the Vibes. Warren Solo, Derek Trucks band, Susan Tedeschi band, Government Mule, and the Allman Brothers. It was like the best day of music.
It sounds like,
imagine.
Yeah, I was going to say, you. I'm guessing you identify more with the lead singer of bands and singers in bands more than the guitar player. I know you love jam music, you love all kinds of music, but at some more personal level, you identify as with the singers more, and you kind of maybe even wish that's kind of where that's where you, because I play guitar, so I my end was more I would say probably Derek's slide playing is what drew me into everything initially.
Yeah, definitely the vocalists were. That's one of the reasons why. But I don't want you to get me wrong, even though I didn't love the music like I loved Warren singing,
right,
and his bands or solo or whatever. But and then when Susan kind of came on the scene more, that attracted me to the Derek Trucks band, because now there was a vocalist that I could connect with, not that I don't connect with Mike. I mean, throughout all of my, listening to him, he's a great songwriter, and he's so smart, and he's just a loving man. And, he adds so much dimension to the Tedeschi Trucks band. It's like, between him and her singing, you get the range of vocal styling, and then of course you have some really terrific backup singers in the TTB. So that's why I really like the Tedeschi Trucks band better than I liked, the Derek Trucks band. And I loved Susan's band. I know I actually knew Susan's, her one hit Just Won't Burn, that album, one of her early albums. I knew it before I even knew of the Christmas Jam and all that time in 2001 when my world opened up,
Yeah, so you knew about her. You knew about Susan even.
Yeah, well, I like female
late 90s. Yeah, exactly.
I like female vocalists, of course.
Yeah, no doubt. No doubt. Yeah, that's what draws me to TTB also is the range of not just vocalists, but the range of different types of sounds and instruments and genres that they cover. Just the diversity and the amount of the eclectic, quality of what they play.
Yeah,
it's like you get everything, and it's full of surprises. Like, and you don't know what you're going to hear. You might have a general, if you've been kind of following the band, you might know what they're going to play on a certain night. But you're not going to know exactly what the set list is going to be ever. No one could really. I feel like no one could predict the set list.
And even if it is the same set list or similar set list, the music's always played a little differently.
Oh yeah, right. Of course, no two Derek solos, no two any solos or
Well, so I've seen them so many times. Like sometimes I know what they're going to play in a way, but musically, guitar wise. So the guitar is also a big instrument for me. I really, the singer and the guitar, that's everything. And I like to dance, so really the percussion too is an important thing. But Tedeschi Trucks is one of the most complex bands out there right now. And fun because, you get up there and you can really, move around and rock out and, feel free, which is a nice feeling. I think they bring that to the music, a spiritual freedom.
I was just going to say it's a spiritual experience seeing them live. Like that's, I mean, I'm not trying to be new agey, not trying to be religious or anything like that. But that's true. Like if you put me a lie detector and ask me, is it a spiritual experience? I would say, yes, it's a spiritual experience. Seeing the band live for sure.
Absolutely. And if you see them enough, which I do see them a lot.
How many times have you seen them? That's what I was going to ask before.
Not as many as Government Mule. I probably seen Government Mule 500 times.
Wow.
Yeah. Maybe 400 and 150 of Warren solo or with his other projects. So he's the one I see the most. But I've seen probably TTB 20 times, 30 times, somewhere in that range. I don't know. I don't count anymore, Yeah,
no, I'm just curious, but that's something.
I see them 2 or 3 times a year, depending on how much money I can, put to
when you
see them. I didn't have tickets to see them in February, unfortunately, because I had to go to San Francisco. But, I had tickets to see them at SPAC in June. I think it was a June date or early July date. Yeah, 4th of July, around the 4th of July. And, couldn't go. And it was sad to give them up. I mean, I'll go next year. I'll probably get another ticket, but I can't predict where I'm going to be, whether I can be there or not. So I just, we'll wait until the dates are actually announced before I decide which ones I'm going to go to. But, they play in the New York area a lot.
Yeah, the Northeast is a good place to it's a good place because you can drive to shows and all over
it's a great perch. Yeah. And I've done that. I travel a lot to see bands. I've seen TTB down in Jersey. I've seen them upstate New York. I don't know if I've gone to any of the Philly or Pennsylvania shows or not. Probably at some point I did, they played. The Tower is a very close venue to me, but I like to travel too. So it gives me as a single person a real reason to get out there.
Sure.
Like maybe I'll go and I'll see the bands. Usually it's Government Mule a couple of days, and then I'll go off on, some other long trip driving through. Like I went to New Mexico and I went to Arizona and then drove all the way down to Texas. And it
That's
was
great.
great. Yeah, because, otherwise I see concrete and trees, Northeast has a certain view. And I really love
You
to
need a
get out and
break.
see.
Yeah,
Yeah, I love to get out to see.
no doubt. No doubt.
Yeah.
What have you met Warren Haynes, or I'm guessing
Yeah,
I would have to think so.
I mean,
Yeah, I'd have to think,
of
assume you've
course.
met Warren and pretty much everyone in TTB over the years as well.
Well, I don't really hang out at the back door anymore, so
And you haven't been to as
I
many
haven't
as Warren.
I haven't met the whole band.
Right.
There's a lot of people in them, but of course I've met Susan and Derek. In fact, one time I met them in Jacksonville, at the Jacksonville airport. We were coming back from Wani or going to Wani or something. I don't remember. Probably
That's
coming
nice.
back from Wani. Yeah. And it was good. It was good. I mean, they're not my friends,
Right.
they're musical idols that I respect and, listen to so I try to run the groups, so that they're nice places for them. Yeah.
If they want to be friends with you, if Susan and Derek want to be friends with you, that'll be a decision that they make.
Oh yeah, of course. And no, but I don't expect it. You know what I'm trying to say?
Course.
It's like,
they have their own lives.
Go backstage and they'll be there all the time. And, a couple of guys, I had to throw them off because they were talking a certain way. I had to throw them off and they're like, oh, I know the band and I know the band. And I'm like, listen, I know you know the band, but you can't talk like this on the group.
Right.
So the band had to check it out. Like, what am I doing? Because they probably heard, some complaints about me.
Oh boy, more comes with the territory.
Yeah. But Listen, when they did start talking, about the group and they connected the Tedeschi Trucks Band fans group, which I started, to their bigger official page, and then there was this whole big debate about stand and sit. I had to speak to a couple of their people about it and say, listen, I really am trying to make this a place where, people can say things without worry that they're going to be ridiculed or bullied or, made fun of. We don't want that. That's not a good thing for the band, and it's certainly not a good thing for people to engage in. It's erodes people's respect, self-respect, and respect for other people.
Yeah, it's sad that people act, that way.
But they know me.
Sometimes.
They know who I am. They've seen me before in, making a fool out of myself online. So they know why I have a stance about it here for the group. Because I made the mistakes.
Yeah. Do you have because it sounds like you just love music. You've been to so many shows and you regret nothing, or there's nothing that you would want other than to just go to more shows. But do you have like a fantasy or a goal or a dream related to either, I guess, TTB or Warren Haynes, to see them in a certain venue at a certain place with playing songs? Like what would be the perfect scenario? A private party for yourself? What would be like the perfect like TTB or Warren sort of experience or
Well, I think it would be great to see them early on. They did some fundraisers. I can't remember what the reason for a fundraiser was. Maybe it was for the big house. Might have been for the big house. And you had Derek and Warren playing and Susan playing and, the Allmans playing and everybody sort of doing music that they don't always do, perhaps maybe acoustic, or where, the Beacon is our home. That's where it would have to be.
Right.
Any show that I would imagine that would be, and have them come out and play with each other and do some Allman stuff and do some of their individual music and then do some great covers of, the heroes.
Yeah, a TTB or slash Allman Brothers, something like acoustic set, unplugged set would be at the Beacon would be. So I mean, I guess I don't know. It's something to be said for plugging in and really filling any venue with like sounds of electric guitar and a plugged in sound. But like I don't know, I'm drawn to the acoustic sound, and that would be something different. Like I wish TTB would put out more like videos on their social media of them playing music at home, Susan and Derek jamming or whatever, and they're in Jacksonville and stuff. But like, they have their own lives, but I love the acoustic stuff too.
Yeah, this is a good time for them to maybe do some of that. And who knows, maybe they're planning on it. Maybe they are. The last tour that I saw, they came out and they played a couple of acoustic songs.
Yeah, a couple. Yeah, they've been playing like a couple of songs. This like if they play 2 sets, they'll come out for the second set. I think a lot of the time,
a few songs, yeah,
in an acoustic. That's always cool for sure.
And I mean, my fantasy show would be both acoustic and electric,
right?
And a whole bunch of people up there who are friends. They have a wide musical network between the two of them and the three of them with Susan. They all have the two of them, meaning the dynamic duo, we call them, Warren Haynes and Derek Trucks. That's what was happening 20 years ago. They were the dynamic duo. They really, they brought a lot of music to the fans, the two of them. They revived the Allman Brothers. Between the two of them, they revived the Allman Brothers so that they could play for 45 years.
Yep.
And they have all of these friends. I mean, I don't like just a big friends show, but I do think something like that, some kind of a celebration, maybe when we get out of lockdown. That would be nice.
That would be not something.
Lockdown. We're not in lockdown right now, but we can have groups of people. And that's what a concert's about. It's whether you stand or you sit, it's about being there with other people and experiencing the music together with the band and with each other. So even as a performer, I could imagine that it's hard just to sit there and play without an audience for very, very long.
Yeah, it's tough, and because you can't. Yeah, you can't even really do outdoor shows socially distant, so from each other, so to speak, because if you have, that means less room, less people, and it's not really even worth it for the artist to do the show if it's not going to be drawing in enough people. It's just not the same experience with people. It's an experience meant to be shared in close quarters, close range with other people, and like I don't know, that aspect of our culture and society seems to be like it might be forever altered, or at least a while before we get back to something resembling that.
Well, it's going to be a while. Put my little public health hat on. If the number of people infected with the virus can go down significantly enough, then it will be safer to resume some kind of gatherings. But the virus isn't down enough yet. And I mean, we're pretty low here in the New York and New Jersey area, but it's still too dangerous. They did start doing some concerts through the Count Basie Theater, where they had a restaurant do some food, and they set up individual tables of 4 or 6, and there were a couple of tables of 2. And I was trying to find people to, going by myself all these years is sort of like, oh my God, I got to come up with people to go see Grace Potter. It was Grace Potter's show. I really wanted to go, but I wasn't able to really buy a table, because then I would have to pay for the food that these people, I didn't even know they were going to be people who wanted to go see her, so I couldn't do it. So I think some of these socially distant approaches are going to leave out some of the fans,
right?
People who don't have a lot of money to spend on these kinds of shows.
Yeah, less shows might. If there's less shows, it's tend to make them more expensive, more exclusive, which is does what you just said. Oh boy!
Yeah, so,
but at least we got the music. I was gonna say, at least we got the
it's
music
gonna eventually
listen to
happen
still.
that we're gonna have a vaccine and we'll be able to go back to concerts. I mean, it's just gonna eventually happen. You know, they're gonna do it. Yeah. Madison
I'm gonna let
Square
everyone else
Garden.
take it first. I'm gonna let everyone else take it first, and then go from there.
Well, you see, people, there's still debate, and this is I don't understand about wearing masks, because wearing masks is really the way we can stop the virus from being transmitted to each other. So
when in
that's
close
without a
quarters with
doubt.
other people indoors, especially, it seems when reasonably
Even outdoors, if you're going to be closer than 3 or 4
people,
feet to a
if you're
person.
around people walking in crowds, and if you're in New York City, walking on the sidewalks, people tend to wear masks. I think more, people do have maybe more common sense than we give them the credit for. But I'm guessing in New York City, you see probably people on the street wearing masks, but maybe in in less crowded areas, it's a little bit of a different vibe. But I hope things get better. That's
if you're
all
going
I
to go
can
to the
say.
mountains and you're not going to see anybody, or
Right.
you're going to see 1 or 2 people, and you could take off your mask when you don't see them. That's a whole different thing. When I go to the supermarkets, there's a lot of people in the supermarkets and a lot of people online, and everybody's wearing masks here because you can't walk into the supermarkets without
pretty much all stores. Yeah, of course.
So it's prevented, continued outbreaks. At one point, New York State had 799 people a day dying, which is a lot of people in one day. So New York State, I think they lost 40,000 people since the beginning of March, and New Jersey's lost 14,000 people since the beginning of March. Through the coronavirus. Yeah, we were the seed of it. So we had to get the virus down to a manageable level. But people are still getting sick and people are still dying, and people have to wear masks right now. Eventually we won't have to, but for now we have to do it.
Yeah, I hope you're right about that. Eventually we don't have to. But TBD.
Because it's a virus like H1N1. They were able to eradicate that. Okay, this got out of hand for a variety of reasons. Some of it was what happens in China, and some of it is the fact that we didn't close down international travel from all over right away. Trump knew in December this was potentially a problem. Had he shut the country in the end of February, we probably wouldn't have had the outbreak that we did. But that's coulda, shoulda, woulda.
We didn't seem to isolate. We didn't seem to isolate the most vulnerable or even warn the most vulnerable. I remember all the stuff about. It seemed like more stuff about the elderly and other people had respiratory problems. That stuff seemed to come even after the fact, really. But
that was the problem when you close off your connection to a country like China, who had to deal with the virus, and they probably dealt with it as an authoritarian country as they are. So they were able to close down the city completely, meaning they delivered food to everybody. People weren't even able to go out to the supermarkets. So they were able to stop the virus in its tracks. And the United States, really, because every state was left up to do whatever it wanted to do based on what they thought the numbers were, we have varying responses to it. New York State and New Jersey, they put a mask order in place pretty quickly. They shut everything down pretty dramatically for, a long period of time. I think it was about 6 weeks. We couldn't really do anything but go to a supermarket. Now more businesses are open, thank God. But you see what happened in the South, and the South just continued because there's no mask order. A virus is transmitted by speaking and breathing. The viral particles are transmitted just by speaking and breathing. And then if you're going to laugh and shout and, cry and scream and, yell at each other, you're going to pass more virus particles. But if you have a mask, you're going to stop some of them from being passed. So everyone has to wear a mask in the country. I think if we all wore a mask for about 2 months, we could probably get the virus down to where more businesses are going to be able to be opened. It's not just, the whole concert industry is not just, the TTB. It's every single level of music. Musicians who've been going into nursing homes and prisons and all of these institutions, they make their livelihood by going and doing shows in these places, and they're not working now. And
it's tough.
Yeah, no one, and none of the technicians are working. None of the stagehands are working. People who rent equipment, audio and visual equipment, they're not working. It's just, and the country hasn't done anything to address really the economic problems faced by people. Many of them, so not all of them work on the books either, so it's not even they can get unemployment. So
yeah,
it's pretty bad right now for a lot of people.
Yeah, what a year. But again, at least we have music to listen to, and I'm happy I have this podcast and I'm able to connect with other Tedeschi Trucks Band's fans and talk music. And I definitely appreciate your time, and I know it's getting a little bit later on the East Coast and I've taken up enough of your time, so I'll definitely let you
stop talking, Angela.
No, I'll let you enjoy the rest of your evening. Is there any other thoughts or moments or memories you want to share about it? Warren, Derek, Susan, music that stand out that you think are worth sharing?
I'm glad that they're able to take this time off. I really am. I think it will help rejuvenate their creative energies, and the fans are gonna be there, and we're gonna come back, and we're gonna be all right. And probably next year we'll start seeing some more concerts, some shows happen. It's not going to be right away, but maybe toward the spring and summer of next year, I hope.
Yeah, they have stuff on the calendar, I think maybe for early as February, or maybe I dreamed that. I don't dreamt that. I don't even.
No, you're probably right. I haven't looked at the, I only buy one ticket, so I don't have to, make sure I have it. I just, a couple of weeks before a show, I can go usually get a seat.
Yeah, they're never coming to California, but that's okay.
They're going to come to California. Don't worry. I know that
maybe,
we love we love California.
Yeah,
here.
Maybe the second half of next year. I guess it's possible. But again, I appreciate
there's an international tour they need to take too.
Right. No, don't worry about those people. They don't count as much. No, they count. Overseas counts.
All right.
But yeah, I was gonna say again, I appreciate your time. It's been a lot of fun. I learning a lot about the ins and outs of running the groups and your chronology of your music history. It was cool.
Thank you.
You covered a lot.
Thank you for interviewing me. And I don't think of myself as anything. Just maybe just to make sure people work well with each other. Other than that, I don't think I'm so I don't, it's just fun. This is fun stuff.
Yeah. Is there anything you wanted to share or any social media, the group name or any of the group or anything you wanted to promote or plug? Or?
Well, it's on the Tedeschi Trucks Band fans, and then I have the Warren Haynes fans and the Government Mule fans and Grace Potter fans.
You got it.
All right,
you're busy.
Adam. Thank you.
You got it. Talk soon. Bye-bye. So there you go. My conversation with Angel Emerald. That was fun. Her accent immediately brings me back to my New York days as a Long Islander, even though I've been living in Los Angeles now for, many years. But for real, I thank Angel for her time and hope there are shows for her, me, and all of us to attend in 2021. Anyway, for now, hope everyone is hanging in there during this super fun 2020. For now, check out Tedeschi Trucks Podcast on Instagram. That's at Tedeschi Trucks Podcast. And of course, remember to tap, subscribe, or follow on iTunes, Spotify, or via whichever way you listen to this show. Again, positive reviews on iTunes are greatly appreciated. But that's about all I got for today. Thanks for listening, everyone. I appreciate the support. Later.